Hi, this is the video for covering the work we're doing on the Lister Petter engine. It's a Lister Petter AC2W. As you can see there, it's a bit rough. We've bought a few parts for it. There's the oil filter, which we got. The least of our problems that turned out to be. That was nothing. The main problems with this were in the gearbox. Anyway, replacing the oil filter. That's where you start from. Undo that bolt in the middle, and out pops the oil filter, which was very much gunked up in this. I'm not surprised though, because there was some rainwater in the bilges which had got into the engine, and that was quite a worry. The oil itself, when it finally came out, the water came out first out of the bilge pump drain sump plug. At the front there was clean fresh water, followed by the oil, which was it was okay, looked okay, unless it had separated and turned back to black from grey. That's the water pump, as you can see, a very expensive item if you have to buy one of those. Close on 300 quid, would you believe? That's for the Jabsco pump complete. Yeah, nearly 300 quid for one of them. So of course we weren't going to buy a new one of those. That clip's got to go. We need stainless steel on there, that's for sure. Anyway, taking the inspection plate off, we found the impeller was like that, and lucky we didn't get the blades didn't go into the block, otherwise we would have had trouble. And when you take the impeller out, they look quite innocent, but then you check these impellers, you just press them, push them over to one side and see if there's any cracks at all, and if there is, well then you need to get shot of it, because it won't last a season. They'll break off, and if you're unlucky they'll get sucked into the cooling channels of the block, and then you will have trouble. You need to clean the body of the pump out, and then get your new impeller, which was only 12 quid. £12 for a new impeller, not bad at all. That I was expected to be about 28-30 quid. And there's the model number if you need to get a new one for that particular Jabsco pump. Work on the boat, this little boat we've got. It's my son's boat. He's converting it into a fishing boat. I mean, it looks very nice there, lovely little boat, but you know, what's the use of that looking at it? So we got to work on it, or he got to work on it with the angle grinder. And the idea is to slice the thing down the middle and take that part of the get rid of the window, and maybe save the frames for something else, because they're quite an expensive item as well. And then you get to work with the angle grinder and cut the cabin longitudinally down the centre. This will make space on the deck for a working area, and the gear for pot lifting gear, you know, the winch and pulley and all that job, which is his department, not mine. And then strengthening everything up, ready for fitting the gear. But the boat's got to have a lot of work done. There's a lot of fiberglassing with the a new side on the cabin there, a bulkhead if you like, and made a lot stronger because of the stresses of lifting pots. That's the engine bay, which that's had its first clean up. It was in quite a state, and there was about a foot of water in there as well. So that needed cleaning up and sorting out. And there's the side of the cabin going on. The whole area is going to be fiberglassed, and also the deck as well, and an apron put on the outside of the hull, where the pots will be banging on the side of the hull, powered by a generator which was kindly loaned to my son from someone his little brother knew. Thank you for that. That was extremely useful. But the work carries on the boat, and it looked a pretty boat before, but now it's a one-eyed pirate. There he is, with a little smiling face, and there you go. So next to the engine now, and started taking parts off. This was the lift pump, which I was going to replace, but the cost of it and finding it was quite difficult actually. And there's the gearbox on the right hand side, the two new bearings, roller bearings on they needed replacing. because it was the gearbox that was seized up and not the engine. At first I thought the engine was seized up, and I thought this is going to be scrap, you know, with a seized up block, but it wasn't. It was the gearbox. Water had got in through the oil seal, and the bearings were worn slightly, and it just went off and jammed itself up. So took it apart, and back to the fuel lift pump now. This one hasn't got the foot sticking out like on a lot of lift pumps. This one, there's a peg sticks out of the block and pushes on little levers inside. So anyway, with the difficulty trying to find one, decided to strip it down, which you know, as you probably know, is a simple job. You just undo the screws, carefully separate the two halves, and then you find you're glad you separated them and looked inside, because that was just trouble waiting to happen. You know, you get that muck pumped into your injectors, and you would have problems there. So it was a question of just stripping the pump down and inspecting each part as I went. And the diaphragm looked okay. It looks like a 3-layer diaphragm, and the spring was okay. The little inlet and outlet non-return valves working fine. So for now, until we know that the actual motor itself, because we haven't had it started yet, until we know that this the Lister Petter AC2W is in working order, we just cleaned the muck out, and as you can see, there was a lot of muck just inside the lift pump. As I say, the diaphragms all looked okay, no cracks. It doesn't seem to be stretched, so we'll give that a shot first. Working on the balcony of a flat on this motor was difficult because it's on the floor. There's not even a workbench, so it's quite difficult, and there's an awful lot of nuts and bolts and little parts missing, and it's making life difficult. That, I think, is a fuel pressure switch. I don't know if I need to bother replacing that or not. The pipes were the injector pipes. I know where they go, all right, but there was one very long length of leakback pipe, and I found out where it goes now. It goes to the top of the valve covers. Now, why do you want a leakback pipe on the valve on the valve covers? Can't quite understand that, because that's nothing to do with the injectors, is it? Anyway, we replaced the helicoils. We replaced the threads with helicoils on the gearbox, which fits into the bell housing. They were gone, and stripping the gearbox down, having the bearings replaced, cleaned it all out. It was quite clean. No muck in the gearbox, no horrible little metal shavings, anything like that. The fork was a bit of a mystery, because the outer lever, when I reassembled it, was a bit odd. I'll tell you about that. This gear train and shift mechanism was fine, no problems there. The gaskets, I made them myself. Not that they were ridiculously expensive if you can get them. It's just a question of waiting for the you know, to get them through the internet and all that jazz, and they might be wrong anyway, so I got some gasket paper and made them myself. As you can see on the gear shift lever's hanging down. Anyway, you know, it seems I thought I'd reassemble the gearbox upside down at first, but on looking at the boat, the actual cable does come in very low, so someone in the past, over the past 45 years, has shifted that lever themselves. The injectors are the old Bryce type, and one of those nuts on the top, the Banjo Union nuts, I need one of those as well. Then bolts, that's missing, can't get one of them. The bearings we got out with a crowbar eventually. You yank them out, and the ring at the top just breaks off. Basically, it straightens the pipe out, which had been flared at the top, and then they pull out the bottom, and then you can get the rubber out. You can use a claw hammer to yank these things out, and that's all you do. The injector pipes, the high pressure pipes, were very pitted, as you can see, but I'm not going to replace those until we've started the motor up, to just check that it's actually you know, worth doing. This was very useful to find on the net as well. An exploded view of the gearbox, very useful. As when I put it back together, as you can see, the shift lever is hanging down, and I thought, oh God, I'll put it on and put it back together upside down. But no, it's the cable. Anyway, there's the lift pump. just probably about to reassemble it there. I'm not going to go into expensive buying gaskets until we've actually started the motor and seen it's worth it, you know. Anyway, I'm going to put another video up. If you've got any comments or anything you can tell me about this motor, I would be really grateful, you know. So thanks for watching, and please do comment on it.